hype trains are coming. The hype trains are coming.
There you go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Inforunners podcast. And it is day 3 of the Anniversary Sale, and alien races galore, ground vehicles everywhere, man. And they need to stop singing the 12 Days of Christmas for Star Citizen.
I think it's going to get so cringeworthy with each repeated episode that the enjoyment factor of watching them suffer through this each day is just going to go up. And so, yeah, you know, entertainment value is going to be there. You know, just give it like another 3 days and it's going to be like...
Yeah. You know it's bad when they're cringing. It's quite funny. Like Sandy's like, oh my god. Like you can see it.
I just loved it. It's like, all right, let's get this over with.
Yeah.
It's essentially what it was.
Yeah. It's like an idea they've had and now they're regretting it, which is quite amusing.
All right, so Hayes, let you open up with your CCU madness.
Okay, to be honest, there was not much on sale today. I've got one CCU for you. My recommendation for today is to get a Super Hornet 2 Banner Defender CCU. This is a longer term speculation because, like the Merchantman, not much seems to be going on. And I think the Defender's going to share its fate. Because, you know, when they design the Merchantman, the Defender will be hand in hand, trying to make them, you know, sync and work together. But it is a cheap CCU. It's only $5. You could buy 1 or 2 of them in the hope that it jumps up by $10, $15 in the future. It's a very low investment, and it should give you a fairly decent return. So, you know, and maybe you just want to speculate on that Banu Defender ship before it comes out. Maybe you're not so sure it's going to be the ship for you, but you want to keep your options open. So, yeah, the Banner Defender CCU, $5. Super Hornet 2 Banner Defender. That's my recommendation for today. I suppose the other thing we could talk about is the Banu Merchantman at $350. Even though it's not the absolutely most amazing deal of all time, it was at $250. $350 is a great deal for this ship. This is still one of those big 160-meter.
I beg to disagree. Ships. I think it's still one of the best, and we're going to explain why when we get to the next section.
Yeah, I agree. It is still
when we start talking about it today.
The best deal for a ship. If you wanted to buy just one ship, this is still one of the best bangs for bucks. One of the best sort of ships that is going to get you through as your daily driver. It's an amazing ship. It's an amazingly versatile ship, and the price is still a bargain at $350.
Agreed.
That's the end of the CCU portion. Let's take it on to the current sale today and the new information.
The Cyclone. The Cyclone is even a better deal than we once thought. It's still not the best ship out there. It's still a missed opportunity. I stand by that. But the fact that it is confirmed 100%, like Execute was saying, modular.
Mm. Oh, I said that offline, but yeah. I think because it's modular, they kind of confirmed it today in the AT video. I speculated back when they did the sale, like I was hesitant to buy any of the upgrades because I ended up buying 2 of them. But now you really only need the base version, and you're going to be able to very cheaply in-game switch to what you need. So if I did recommend something to pick up today, it probably would be a Cyclone, but just the base variant, and then you've got a really kind of modular vehicle. And they did talk about it having a lot of utility, which is interesting. But again, you've got to start to question some of those choices on what upgrades they've gone down. Little things like how is the AA going to work and things like that.
I still think the AA variant is a huge missed opportunity in design.
Well, we explain that because I'd like to. I haven't talked to you about that with you, so please.
I don't think there's something wrong with the AA. The only thing they got wrong with the AA is what they're going to be targeting with that. Because as soon as you turn that around and start targeting an Ursa or an Anox, it becomes holy crap.
I don't think you'll be able to use missiles on vehicles. I think you use them on planes.
Issues with the AA. First one is I think they could have taken a better route with like your SAM variants. Like look at in life how SAM batteries actually have a turret, because you have to keep this mobile vehicle, yes it's mobile, pointing at a target for lock-on. So unless lock-on is magically fixed, so it's quick lock-on speeds for this ground vehicle, is going to have to keep tracking a air vehicle who has the advantage of being able to zoom, move around, and run rings around it. So trying to hit a Saber and a flyby is going to be fairly difficult.
They did mention that one of the things they were talking about when they were talking about the AA was that it was controlled by a panel in the front seat. So maybe one person drives and one person drives the missile, so to speak. That could be how they're doing it.
Well, still, I find it clunky.
Maybe it's one where it's a special missile where it fires into the air, and then they steer the missile, and the missile itself locks on, and then goes at it, type of thing. So. I'm
just saying, it feels to me like it was shoehorned in there and not really thought out. Because again, if you look at a lot of even truck-mounted or Humvee-mounted AA systems, it comes on a because when we did our episode a while back on the ship, I was pointing out with some of the pictures. If you look at these, it's just really inefficient. Especially
you mean vehicle, but I get what you mean.
I understand it's got like very low abilities, but then again, now that sort of confirmed that the modularity that you can switch between all the different models, I think that makes up for its limited ability, because the versatility in itself is a boon to this ship.
I can actually see in a Carrack this being used, what you can do is have in a cargo module the different modules. So you can have a scanner module in there, or you can even have a military module if you actually are expecting to run into some hostile activity. It allows you to have extra variations for your long journey for what you need.
Well, this is right. You can switch between the recon, or maybe you just want to have some fun and put the turbo boost in, or maybe you want to do some actual cargo so it actually functions still as an Ursa. It gives you all these different modes and options, and that's where its real strength will lie, I think, as a vehicle. I was really impressed with them showing them driving it. It looked a lot better and more convincing than the Ursa with its wheels going boop, 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 boop. The suspension was really good.
Did you notice how they subtly kind of let it go that it was made off the Grey Cat? Did you kind of hear that at all? Because they started talking about the suspension on the Grey Cat, which kind of tells me they started with the Grey Cat and then kind of just scaled it up, and that's how they've started to do the white boxing and all that, is using the Grey Cat as the default, and then just adding all these extra features to it from there.
I suppose that's the only four-wheeled vehicle they had, so they had to start somewhere.
Yeah, it just made it easier for them to start there. I found that interesting.
I was honestly impressed with the handling they already had and the suspension with it, even though it seemed like it was flying a lot of the time. But I mean, it's a moon. It's low gravity. I suppose that's pretty accurate. But just to me, watching that bound around the place, it looked like so much fun. Can you imagine with the booster being going whoosh on top of what they were already showing? That sounds like an incredibly fun vehicle just to drive around in.
I personally say wait a little bit, because I want to see what some of the other rovers, because we still have the Lynx rover, we still have the one they're building for the Carrack, which I wouldn't be surprised that you could buy separately, and I would also like to see what some of the other tracked ground vehicles, because I've been wanting to see a half-track vehicle come out for a while, because what that would do for exploration or hauling cargo or something like that, this would be the fast little brother. But I still say the biggest missed opportunity also in this is a bigger bed for carrying stuff, an actual truck.
I just noticing on the website too, I was looking at some of the CCUs just now for the Cyclone, and because of the no $0 CCUs, you can't swap between a Cyclone or vice versa to an Ursa, which is kind of sad. That would have been a really cool thing to be able to do today, but obviously you can't.
Speaking of, we were wrong about $0 CCUs going poof. Apparently they're still in your hangar. You can't buy them. They're still there. I don't know for how long. Maybe they forgot about that. But for those who haven't used their $0 CCUs and were hoping to use them for this sale, congrats. You can do that. So just be aware, $0 CCUs, as long as they're still in your hangar, they haven't gone kapoof just yet.
It's probably what they're going to do is not delete them from your hangar, but just don't ever offer them again, potentially.
No, they did promise to remove them by 3.0, but they didn't say when. So, we'll see.
Looking
if
at the
they keep good on
$0
their promise.
CCUs, I actually hope they go back on their promise here, because it would actually be nice to actually keep certain ones, especially around the anniversary sale, because all the Carrick owners are like, well, I like the Carrick, but I like what I'm seeing right now with the Reclaimer. Let me swap over there, or vice versa.
I think the really simple thing is just make them so that you could either make them a minimum amount. So even though it's $0 CCU, maybe it costs $1 or $5. And I don't think people would have a problem with that. I personally wouldn't have a problem with that. I would pay $5 to change between two things that cost the same amount. So it's a $0 melt value, but it costs me $5 to do the switch. And I would have. What do you guys think about that?
I think if you combine that with limiting it to
$1,
maybe 2 or 3 max per person, yeah, that'd be perfect. That would be,
yeah.
You have to put some investment in order to reap any sort of a benefit, but at the same time, it cannot be overly abused by people, you know.
Yeah, and everyone wins. CIG gets some funds, we get what we want, everyone's happy. And
especially with the game still in development, we don't know what's going to happen. We could actually see the Reclaimer and be like, well, it looks awesome, but the salvage mechanics are not what I quite like, so let's swap over something without wasting money.
I think also with what I was talking to you guys earlier today about the Hammerhead and stuff like that. I think everyone's greatest fear, and you guys can kind of correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think it's the fact that no one really wants to end up with a ship that they don't want. They don't want to have a fleet where half the fleet is just useless.
I think it's completely fair for people to want that flexibility and the options to be able to say, this is not the ship that I imagined. And they say, well, you can just remelt it. No, you lose the original value, the discount on that, and you pay. You essentially are penalized for shifting late in the game.
My worst one like that is a Rear Admiral package. I really kind of wanted to turn it into a Phoenix for a really long time, but they've just never really ever sold the Phoenix upgrade again. And I don't want to melt it because it's like it only cost me like $225, but now currently on the black market it's like over $600 US. You can see why the black market's come up. Like I've been forced in such a corner now that I'm almost tempted to sell that for $600 and flip it into another ship. Like it's just ridiculous. I can see why people have been tempted. They've created this almost false economy, and I want to do the right thing, and I'm sure there's other people out there that want to do the right thing, but you just feel so pressured, and I think they need to fix it. And LTI is another whole game as well. It's just a shame they haven't really kind of put... like, I know they're going to make money, but I think they need to put us first as well. And I think the thing is, there is a system there that they can get it where everyone wins.
A middle ground
it's just,
that
they
satisfies both.
Yeah, they just haven't found it. And unfortunately, being outsiders, so to speak, we can see where it needs to be, but they're either so bogged down in making the game that they can't see it, or they just oblivious because they're not buying the ships themselves.
It also goes back to game packages. Personally, if you have a ship of value of abandoning merchantman, you should automatically you should be able to either tack on a game package or be like, hey, look, you paid this much, you might as well get the game.
Like modules for ships. You could just like components. You just slot it in, and it's like, oh, game package module confirmed.
You could do something really simple, like once you go over $100, it automatically includes one. And then once you go over, say, $200, it automatically includes both. And when I say one, I mean Star Citizen or Squadron 42. And that way, no matter what, when you've got these people with big, crazy fleets, they're going to have multiple game packages.
Well, it's a better system than what we got now, because right now it's like, well, I'm forced to have this little tiny, dinky $30 ship. And I'm like, awesome.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, like, when you've got the biggest ship above it, you're never really ever going to touch that ship. So it's kind of sad. So what you tend to find, though, is most people tend to upgrade their package to something else, but then they're also reluctant to do that because it doesn't have LTI.
And then well, that's where they should also, I think, offer LTI on your game package and encourage people, because that would at least make the game package valuable. It's like, okay, cool. You buy a game package, you get LTI, you can upgrade this to wherever you want. Because right now we are all early access backers. I understand there's a Kickstarter thing. You could always make a special LTI for them that maybe includes a certain percentage of their components.
This is another one of their missed opportunities with the Raven. If they'd done an LTI game package there, even if that was like, I don't know, $140 or something, 130, because it's a war bond type thing. I'm just guessing here numbers, but the thing is, I honestly believe they'd sell around 1 to 2 million worth, because there's many people.
Sorry, do you mean the Hawk, not the Raven?
The Hawk.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, cool.
Seriously, because if I get a Raven.
Yeah. You're going to start a really bad conversation there if it was the Raven. That's all. Just all the intel.
Both birds of prey. Give me a break. It's easy to. But anyway, I think the sales in that would have been crazy. I think that would have been more sales than the Raven.
Yeah,
actually gets. I think if they put the game package, they would have sold more Hawk game packages than they would have just Hawks by themselves.
Yeah, I agree. This kind of comes back to what we were just saying about they don't really understand their audience fully yet, and I think that's why they're getting lots of missed opportunities, because they don't know what they're selling specifically. But yeah, I 100% agree. Like, I've got some really weird game packages. Like, I don't know if you guys are aware, but my Redeemer is a game package.
Okay.
It's the most expensive game package you can buy, and I don't know of any other one that is like it. And yeah, it's kind of strange. It's one of the few game packages I've got left. I've actually unmelted a lot of game packages over the years to give to friends and stuff, like little, RSI LNs and stuff like that. So I don't have a lot of those left, but the only one I've got left, so anyone wants a game package, Redeemer, $265, which is, it was actually only an extra $15 to get both.
That's an amazing deal. It's LTI as well?
LTI comes with Squadron 42 and Star Citizen for an extra $15. And so back in the day, it was a no-brainer. It was like, well, it's an extra. I think there's even game packages I had were only $10 more. One of them I'm thinking of is I had an LTI Freelancer, but that was back when they were called names. They had like LTI Colonel was the Super Hornet one. There was one for the Freelancer, and I've got that. And yeah, it was literally only $10, and it came with Squadron 42 and Star Citizen for $10 extra. Like, so every time I brought ships back then, I always bought them in game packages because it was just so cheap.
Well, I think they need to bring the game package back, at least to be able to be added on, because again, CIG, if you're listening, no one wants to upgrade your dinky little starter ship.
There's a huge market for people who want a game package and Squadron 42, and they don't want the dinky starter ship.
I also want a physical game copy.
If you could figure out a way to add that combo to a standalone ship that people already have, you're going to sell a truckload.
Yeah, I think it's really quite simple, and I kind of said this over the last few days. Like, when you look at it, you can currently add Squadron 42 or Star Citizen to a game package that doesn't have it, but they just need the ability to add one or both to any ship, period. That's it. And and you could charge, well, I think at the moment they charge $45 for Squadron 42 on its own as an example, but if they made it, say, $60 for both and maybe $40 for one, and then you could just take any ship you want, so you don't have to buy the dinky little Aurora or Mustang. And I think that for a lot of us more seasoned veterans, when we recommend people to get stuff, we never tend to recommend one of those because they don't come with LTI. LTI tokens...
Here's a recommendation then. I reckon if you do get a normal base starter package, that dinky little $30 ship, if you really wanted a Dragonfly, that's the ship that should be made into that Dragonfly. Or a Nox, or whatever your ground vehicle is. I think it was a missed opportunity that the separated ground vehicles from snubs, like the Nox, the Dragonfly, and the X1, so that you couldn't CCU up the base starter game packages into those vehicles, like the Rovers and the Tumbrel Cyclone. I think that was a serious mistake and oversight.
Yeah, I do too. But I think the reason they did it again is because they were just trying to limit what people can do. They need to stop trying to limit what people can do and just set the rules correctly. Like, why should we be punished for their lack of knowledge, so to speak, because they stuffed up?
Well, I don't know.
They need to learn and evolve rather than punish us. And that's, unfortunately, when you punish people, they tend to get pissed. And, like, honestly, we haven't spent as much money this year. I don't know anyone that's spent as much money this year as previous years. Yeah, there's always going to look like the same amount of money because more and more people are coming in.
They are getting a record sales, though. I think you're right. A lot of the old guard have less to spend. The Hammerhead,
that's what I mean. Yeah,
the Hammerhead is an exception. I think a lot of people
always
open their wallets for that one.
Well, that's because the Hammerhead's just amazing.
Yeah, they're always going to have more sales year on year because more and more people are coming into the game. But yeah, I was specifically talking about the old guard. I don't know about you guys, but talking across the board, especially in SCA, most people haven't spent as much as usual, with the exception of the Hammerhead, because there's no other ship like it at the moment. Yeah.
Speaking of,
well,
go on.
I was just gonna say I really like Nuberfire's idea, and which is all the ships available at all the time, because this forced scarcity also is the reason people are banking CCUs and all this. You shouldn't have to do that for this game. To be fair,
I'm gonna segue into that. The thing that they do different this sale is that each day of the sale, the previous day sale is still available and up in the store. So like the Aegis sale and the Anvil sale, those ships are still available to buy, are still available to CCU. I think that's a welcome change compared to previous anniversary year, where if you missed that one day of the sale, you had to wait to the very end. I think it's, as you said, gives more options, makes it easier for us. It's a very welcome move from CIG, and you know, I think I'm thankful. I imagine many other people are too, because it's less rush and more like I can think about this and plan myself a little better.
No, agreed, 100%.
So the Banu Merchantmen, just completely moving into a new topic, because we're beating this dead horse until it's putty. The Banu Merchantmen, they talked about it, they showed us some things, and if you go specifically to the 1155 and watch for about 10-15 seconds, they mentioned it is larger than a Polaris. This ship grows.
We already knew it was like 160 something meters, so you know.
Yes, but larger.
And it's fatter and wider, and this is we sort of knew this already, but you know, it is a giant of a thing. And I had my heart really set on this day because finally new information about the Banu Merchantmen, and my heart was crushed. And it's like. What we did learn is that they have perhaps been letting on more of where the current state of the Banu Merchantmen than what the reality is. In other words, it's so far back into pre-concept and original concepting that they have barely even started that, because they aren't sure about all the lore in the Banu race yet, and they're waiting on that in order to flesh out the concept and the pre-concept idea. So unlike the Hammerhead, which they fleshed out the concept, they fleshed out the white box, and probably even a bit further before they even put the ship up for sale. The Banu Merchantman is further in reverse than all the recent concepts out. And I just want to cry. It's horrible.
It would never be a concept ship nowadays. It would never have been a concept ship if, at this stage, it would have had to have gone much further, because CIG is finally smart enough not to just release fancy concept art, but to actually have enough on the inside and outside built that they know what they're building.
You need to change the thumbnail. I've told you twice, but you keep not listening to me. So I had to be way more subtle and just say it on stream. Look, I think the Banu... I kind of agree with what Hayes says about the lore, but I think it's actually a little bit deeper than that, and they actually do go into it. They talk about how the art is really hard because everything in this game is being built really modularly. Everything, like literally everything, is being built modularly. And because the Banu has a lot more organic shapes, it's a lot harder to do modular. It's exceptionally hard. Like, just you try and connect circles together, it's a lot harder than... You know, so you're going to get things like, if you're trying to connect circles together, it's going to almost like custom modularity. Like if you ever looked at stained glass windows, I know this sounds like a really weird way to talk about it, but when you put stained glass windows together, they actually have to cut every single shape to fit. So you're going to find that when they take the art from the banner onto the next ship, it's not going to transfer as well. So basically, I think you're almost going to find every banner ship is almost going to be custom. And that's why it's taking so long. They're trying to find a way to make it modular, but they can't. In simple terms.
I'm just still so crushed. I can't believe that the ship is so undeveloped. I think it's the long game, waiting game. I think this is still, I'll hedge all my bets on this as being one of the best ships, because they have so much to live up to, and I think they are posed to get there, and the direction is all correct, but I just can't see my Banu MM in 2018 anymore. It's like, it is definitely a 2019 type ship.
No, I kind of agree with you. I think it could still possibly make the end, but I think it's kind of like us trying to hope and pray for 3.0 in 2017 type of thing. It's a pipe dream. It feels that way anyway. We've got the Carrack hopefully, but yeah, unless it gets some severe, help and actual extra development time, I don't see it hitting 2018 either.
I'm just going to have to say, I'm going to be going against the grain about this video, though. It did not crush. It actually made me happy for several reasons. First of all,
you're a narcissist?
What?
Sorry, keep going.
You mean a masochist, not narcissist.
Oh, whatever. Sorry, my bad.
Going on, but when you look at it, the fact that they're taking their time with this and getting the lore right really is going to help with the immersion. The fact that they're paying attention to all the little details is actually going to make this ship better than if they just were like, hey, we're going to pop up this ship, we're going to make it look like that, and we're going to say it works with the lore. Like a lot of games, if you look at alien ships, they don't really have the depth that Star Citizen has with the alien ships. The planning, the concept, and that's something that's really awesome. Plus, some of the new developments, because when you first saw this, it was just going to be the VIP room, which they have for your negotiating room. Now it's a VIP room with multiple other levels of bazaar. So you actually have a true bazaar, not just one room where someone walks in and you negotiate, but you have multiple selling stands. You have beds in your in the cockpit area. I love all the little details that they're paying attention.
Not to mention separate bedrooms for your employee plebs, because you don't want to spend time with them.
Put all the NPCs in their one little own area.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and then you have your esteemed guests and yourself and the captain in the luxurious dining room and the captain's quarters and things. I like that.
I think the bazaar on the ship is really, like, some people are saying that they don't think the bazaar's on the ship. I think it's very clearly on the ship from the concept art, and they also showed the 3D model of you flying down into the same. They
mentioned it like below the conference rooms for the VIPs was the actual storefronts.
So it's pushed the ship into I would say 890 jump territory. So that's got a bazaar type of mall on it as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the 890 jump grew as big as the Banu, except the Banu is the trade equivalent, while the 890 jump is the passenger equivalent. Yeah.
That said, though, the 890 jump doesn't have the cargo capacity, so I find that it's like they've merged the whole. Yeah, it's like a Hull E and 890 jump combined type of thing. So I think it's going to be bigger than 890 jump personally.
I think it's going to actually get a little bit bigger than what they're saying, because offense,
they have no idea what the ship's going to be yet.
Well, what they were talking about specifically, the one thing that makes me think it's going to be larger is the fact that they said...
Oh, we lost Dyson.
We lost audio, Dyson. I think your Discord's died, mate.
Again.
Yeah. He's like, no, now, see, look at his face. He's just realised that he's lost voice. Alright, we'll keep going until he gets his stuff fixed. Alright. Yeah, basically, with the Banu Merchantman, I think they have boxed it out. They've got the grey box all there laid out, so I actually think that's how they've been able to determine that it's possibly bigger than the Polaris at this point.
Well, I think it's going out to, correct me if I'm wrong, Foundry 42. So I will not be surprised if it does grow. Maybe
I think you're
160
correct.
meter is them realizing that, oh shit, this will never fit, so we've got to immediately like scramble and try and redo this. But I think they haven't got there yet, so things may yet.
I think you're correct in that assumption that it's gone out to Family 42 as well, especially since they had the French guy and the English guy talking from Manchester. So I think you're 100% on that one. He just dropped from Discord, folks, so that's definitely what happened. Because this happened before the show. He was talking and his Discord just upped and died. So that's what's happened again. He'll be back in a second.
Yeah, they'll load in eventually.
You'll probably even hear the disconnect noise going through Hayes' audio.
But yeah, is other than the fact that, you know, they were really scant on details and the work done and the rest, you know, it's even if we get information about the banner measurement not really being in like past concept, yeah, he's dropped out of Skype. Let's see if I can do this. Oh, all right. That sort of works. We'll wait for him to come
That'll
back.
do. That's fair enough. I'll be fine until he gets back in.
You'll once he gets out of the thing, you'll resize properly. But what was I gonna say? I guess we'll start questions.
Yeah, it's not really a very long show today. ATV wasn't very long either.
Yeah, very short on details.
Yeah, people we were speculating on a new vehicle because they've promised that. We didn't really talk about that either. They promised a lot of stuff that they didn't deliver on this year. Like they said, no more military ships, and we got the Hammerhead and the Hawk. All right, he's back on Discord. He's coming back on Skype. So he's got a full reset.
Okay.
Why did you kick me out, dudes? Come on, censoring. Oh, all
right, I have to get back on Skype, so I can get back on the video.
Yeah.
Are we still filming?
We're still filming. Yes. Show goes on without you. Show must go on.
There we go. I have this all set up for multiple different people these days. I'm getting better at this.
Yeah, we're getting there.
I'm back!
Yes, and we're starting questions.
You need to mute Skype, mate. Mute Skype.
Yeah, mute Skype.
Yeah, and we've moved on to...
Everyone likes the double voice.
No.
Hello! All right.
We've moved on to questions, so people are asking questions. Go for it.
Gecko asks, what do you guys think of the people that bought Idris and Javelins only to resell them at a higher price in the grey market and black market? They don't even want the ships.
Clever.
Scumbags.
Number one, anything over $1,000 is not giftable. You cannot gift these ships to someone else. The only way they can pass this on is to sell that account. And to be honest, on the grey market, which I do sort of follow but not interact so much with, selling black market accounts, people do not want to buy an Idris or a Javelin on a black market account because it's nothing but risk. And Idrises and Javelins over the last couple of years, especially the last 2 years, are readily available at the end of the during Anniversary Sale and the Holiday Sale. And so the black market demand for Idrises and Javelins and black market accounts is just about nothing at the moment. Because, you know, people can get them for non-inflated prices on their own accounts with no risk attached. And so at the end of the day, Idris and Javelin black market sales, it may be a thing in the past when they didn't sell Javelin for over 2 years, but it is not a thing anymore, thanks, because Idris demand has been completely deflated due to the Armada packs and selling them individually as war bonds. So yeah, you can say, personally, I don't think that's a thing currently in the environment right at the moment. It may have been in the past, but not right now.
I'm gonna say I just don't like the. I'm gonna gather flag for this. I just don't like the gray market in general because you get people with these limited ships. Even if you have several people doing this with Javelins, Idrises, you're taking it away from people who are going to buy it at a regular price from CIG because there's limited quantities. It's a race to get them. And now you're like, oh, well, by the way, you now have to pay at this inflated price because we've been eating up legitimate sales. And that's something that's not really, in my opinion, a good thing.
It goes back to what I was saying about trying to do the right thing. And unfortunately, there's only one, I shouldn't say one person, but one company that made the grey market, and that's CIG themselves.
You've got to give them credit to have undercutting
limited
that
ship
grey
sales
market with the Idris and Javelin sales, so you have to admit.
Yeah, but it's supply and demand.
It
They have not realised what they've done. If anyone was to kill the grey market by doing the right thing, it would be CIG. They could kill it overnight just by making a few small changes, and it would just die. And yeah, there are a lot of people, like the one I think of that is always on. There's a guy called Kane's Middleman Services. He's like some dude from Europe, and he has made. He has a really big fleet now, but he made his entire fleet off just trading with other people. It's crazy.
Well, the thing is, they just need to make the ships available all the time, because all it does is make this market.
I don't think it's just that. I think it's also the LTI stuff. I also think it's the way that they've got the CCU set up. It's more than just one thing. It's a couple of things, like how they've gone into it, and they haven't really had the foresight. And to be honest, like how do you have the foresight for this? A game's never kind of really been done like this.
I think they went into the idea that they wanted to do something good, but they didn't do the skeptic side and say, how will this be abused? And they essentially were innocent and didn't even assume that that might be a possibility. I think it comes down to the idea that you want to provide something good, but you also need to look at the other side of that coin and see that there will always be people who will abuse something if given the power or the option to do so.
It'd be really cool before they finally release the game if they do like the final sale and they just open up utterly everything and basically just make it so you can get exactly what you want to do. And that would actually undo all this crap. I don't know what else to call it. But by the end, if they,
CCUs.
Right at the end, if they just open everything and not give a shit, and everyone can just spend what they want, do what they want, end up with exactly the fleet they want, and everyone just walks into the game happy, that's how I would do it. But that's just me. Because at the end of the day, they're only going to make more money, and that's the last chance for them to kind of make money. And yeah, it's the worst thing. I just don't want to see someone get burned. Like, I've got X ship, and I'm really pissed that I spent $500 on it, and it's a floating pile of garbage. Like, that's the last thing you want, is unhappy people going into the game. Like, it's just going to have so much salt. And you want happy customers.
When they're marketing for
no, you don't. You don't. Yeah. And that's the thing. They've kind of done it now where there's a reluctance to buy because it's a huge bloody risk. And if they fix the things, it'll fix all that. But we should probably move on, because this is the type of topic you could do a whole freaking show on. So we've got heaps of questions backed up. So let's move on to another one.
Ask the question: will the traders on the BMM be NPCs? Could we run one solo on an alt account in high sec?
Could be both. They've actually said you can do pretty much any job, so why couldn't it be both?
I definitely think you can run this ship by yourself with an NPC crew, but going into ultra high sec, where you're going to experience problems, that and only having one real human player, I think that's asking for trouble.
There might even be NPCs that you have to pay, as in you hire them, they're your employees.
If you brought other ships supporting you as an escort, then perhaps. But I'm still of the opinion that, the high sec areas are those high-end level raids for MMOs. And it's meant to be a group activity. It's made hard, it's supposed to be challenging, and it's not supposed to be a casual, I go off and solo experience. So, that's my opinion.
Well, one thing that I look at with the Banu is it is going to be the best ship for pickup and go into high sec. I can actually see one thing I want to do is I know at least 5, 6, 7 people with Banu merchantmen who want to do this. We get in all our Banu merchantmen. We have a couple defenders into that little dock which they keep teasing us with, and we go into high security area and we set up a bazaar going from high sec area to high sec area, literally selling goods off of our ships.
I think you're correct that the Banu merchantman is the ship if you wanted to just go by yourself and run a trade career and be able to run it.
I'm actually sorry.
No,
I was just gonna say I'm just surprised we didn't see more about the Banu Defender today, or more about it specifically being inside the Banu Merchantman, like a hangar or whatnot. That would have been nice to get confirmed. A couple of people mentioned in chat that there just hasn't been enough info on the Banu Merchantman, and I think that's the only new content that was there was them walking through the grey box areas, and
it was one room.
When you look at when you look at those. Yep. Oh no, they showed two different rooms. They showed the cockpit and they showed hallways. That was it. Oh, and they showed the bazaar coming down onto the bazaar. But the point I'm trying to make is that ship is really just at the start of its phase. It's so we were just expecting it to be in line with the Carrack as an example, and the Carrack's like halfway through, where this is just in the front door. So they're obviously having a bit of trouble with it, and it's definitely from the art side, from what I can see. Lore can always be flexible. Art really kind of can't, because you got to be on point, especially when you're talking about technical art. And they're trying to do it's the technical side of it that's holding them up because of the modularity set, like I said earlier. Next question, huh?
Okay, Tadija Delija.
So that 5 times fast.
I can't say that right. Yeah, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. It's just that I've never said a name close to that. But anyway, he asks, I think you guys, streamers, YouTubers, need to be more critical. The amount of hype around this game is not normal, and the delivery is far from promised.
I don't think it's been delivered yet. I think it's still being worked on.
I agree. I think there's many YouTubers out there who are yes men. And if there's anything critical, they will self-censor themselves. And I don't think you should be overly critical. I think what you need to do is a balanced appraisal. So when there's something good, you praise it. And when there's something bad, you tear that apart. And it's sort of like you want to be fair and balanced.
Well, we're a happy medium in this channel generally. I mean, we have blasted CIG for many things, but we've also been like, hey, you're doing good. Because this is development. This is messy. Development is not a clean cut process. And if you've been part of any early access games and everything that have actually done well, so if depending on how early they were, the CIG is actually a little bit less buggy than some of the stuff I've played with.
Yeah, I think in general, look, if you're going to critique someone, you have to be able to give positive and negative critique. And yeah, there is definitely yes men in this community.
And no men in the community.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you get both, and I think we'll gladly say we're somewhere in the middle, and that's the better place to be. CIG have actually, I think they do show favoritism and a little bit of hatred towards the no men, as is rightly so. When let's just not even talk about Derek Smart, but you get the whole idea of what I'm trying to say. I think you need people to call them, but I also think you need people to support them, and I think that's kind of what we're doing. We are critiquing in a positive manner, and that's where I think we need to be. Next question. Go ahead.
I think there's a lot of people who are in that middle ground who give the warts and all sort of thing, and they don't get as much penetration or recognition from CIG as those yes men. Those yes men CIG hold up as a shining example. Yeah, I've seen so many other people like Citizen Gamer, Minion Soldier, perhaps Or Channel, and there's a couple other ones in that list. They will never see the light of day on something like Citizen of the Stars. And they are overly positive channels about Star Citizen. But the thing is, they don't pull their punches. When they got something to say, they'll be as honest as possible about it. And I just feel that CIG is not as comfortable as they should be with that. Yeah,
they need to be able to take the good with the bad. And I think that's the biggest problem they have at the moment.
All developers have problems with that.
Yeah. If you look at the streamers they take with them to Germany, they're pretty much yes men in my opinion. But you do get big people like Noobifier and Board Gamer, and I'd say they're not yes men. I would say that they are very much. I would
very balanced.
Yeah, that's what you want to be. You want to aspire to be someone that's in the middle, and I think they're probably two examples I can think of. But then you've got ones that go the other way, like we were talking about Fail at a Port yesterday. He's too far the other way.
He's too far gone.
He let's just put it this way.
His last video was hilarious.
He doesn't understand game development, and I think that's been the biggest growing pain for CIG. But in a way, it's really good because it's taught a lot of people what game development is actually like. And I've always had this thing where I always have my old game developer hat that I can chuck on, and you use it to think through logically, and you get to these answers. And I've even seen just take Dyson Dyson. Sorry, I'm really bad with this. As an example, he will say something, and I'll just say, I'll put on my developer hat, and then say it straight back to him, and he's like, "Yeah, that actually makes sense." And it almost I can actually see you almost flip your opinion a lot when I give you logical game developer answers. Not always, but I've seen it a few times. So I'm good. I'm glad to see that. What I'm trying to say in a positive way is it's good to see that people are starting to come on board to the idea of how it works in game development, and I'm happy to see that Star Citizen's got some kind of educational value to it.
And just to put it this way, CIG, unlike a lot of companies, they had to build their company from the start, and that takes a while, not just with all the legalities and the paperwork, but also getting everyone hired, because their employment graph just like grows dramatically.
Those early first few years were pre-production. They were not developing the game. That was all research and development.
The game's really only been in development for maybe 2.5 years. Like, people go, oh, it's been off Kickstarter for 5 years. No, yeah, it has, but it hasn't been started development for 2.5 years. And then if you kind of add that to the fact that, like, let's look at World of Warcraft, that took 7 years to develop. Guys, I'm sorry to say, but we've probably still got 5 years left to go. And you're going to probably go, what? But, like, for the
I'm glad I get through school. Actually,
the probably PU part of Star Citizen is probably still 5 years off to its, like, I'm talking release here, you know. So we're looking at 2022.
Yeah, I could see beta 2.5 years, full release 5 years easily.
Yep. So I don't like to be the bearer of bad news, but I want to be realistic.
Well, the thing is, it'll be coming in at the perfect time, because right now is not the perfect time. Everyone's fed up with all this sci-fi, big open world a little bit. They want a good one. This same generation that's going to enjoy it is actually going to be at an age where they can actually take the time and enjoy Star Citizen instead of having to. They won't be early in their careers; they'll be later on in their careers, or finishing school, so they can actually have time to enjoy the game, and that's important. And it'll be future proof too. Look at World of Warship, or not World of Warships. It's World of Warcraft.
It's the line between the patience to wait for it, but we all know good things take time.
Tech Mojo is a bit distraught that it would be 5 years, but I have to tell you, like, in 2.5 years, most of the professions will be in place, persistence will be in place, you earning money in your ships and insurance mattering, that will be in place. Beta is a playable version of the game that's working.
Yeah, I'm talking full release, so full, like, all done, all the planets done. That's the advantage of Star Citizen in a way, is we'll actually be able to play it along the way. That's the cool thing. I'm talking, like, you know, when we were talking about that final sale, that's the type of thing. Like when it goes out in boxes to other people, type of thing. It's 5 years away, and quite frankly, we might even see the second Squadron 42 by then as well.
Yeah.
So
we're talking about the PU. Like, Squadron 42 will be out not too far a distant future.
It'll be a giant tech demo for the PU. I think Squadron 42 is what's going to bring a lot of people into the game, because 100%. they're going to see this. It's going to be a big release, because I hate to say this, they have a bunch of star power behind it too. It's not just it's going to be a good game. They have the star power and everything else backing it up. This is going to be what gets people in.
Merlin says that you have to have the catch up with the tech, or they have the engineers that made the engine continually working on this. It's not a matter of catching up. They are going to be on the bleeding edge, the engine, for what it is, for what they want to do, because they have the talent. Dyson? Anyway, going on to the next question. I thought you wanted to say something, but it's all right.
No, I was trying to figure out film screen wise, like, okay, I think it's this side. Let's move this over.
There's a problem with his curtain. I just suddenly messaged him to fix it, and then threw him in the deep end. Anyway,
sorry there.
Hayes, stop pushing me into the pool. There's sharks in there, hammerheads.
I know. I feed them.
All right, what's the next question? Let's move on to the next question.
Teamwork Tudor asks, the ship matrix is showing the 890 jumpers having 1600 SU and cargo. That is the old cargo unit amount. Not sure if that is the true numbers now. The old SCU cargo amount for the 890 jump was 500 SCU, which was very generous compared to some of the shit we're seeing like in this Hammerhead for 40 SCU. So the fact that they updated it and they haven't corrected that, and it's going to be a huge ship. It's going to be Polaris sized. I'm not surprised it has a 1600 SCU in cargo, because without that extra cargo, the 890 jump is not versatile enough for such a big ship. To say that 890 jump owners only want to transport VIPs from place to place and not have some other side ability to be able to use their ship. I mean, it's no Banner merchantman for cargo.
Is it weird when you kind of look at the Banner merchantman and go, it's a better buy than the 890 jump? Like even if they were the same price, it's still a better ship.
Yeah, they're paying a lot of money for this. We're talking about $900 ship, and you're complaining it has 1600 SU in cargo.
What was the original price? It was $250 for a Banner,
600,
and $600 for
it's $890.
That's hilarious.
These guys paid a lot of money for this ship, and I think 1600 SU in cargo is fair, because it's supposed to be a big ship. It certainly should have the room to fit it. What's the big deal? I think adding that versatility to that ship, the only people who are going to complain is the people who don't have an 890. And it's just because they see it as too expensive and they don't want it to have any functionality for these rich pricks to actually perhaps be able to enjoy this game. Which is, that's my opinion.
I don't really have much to say on it, honestly. I think it kind of speaks for itself. Next question.
Okay, J Block asks, recall your stating that anti-air weapons and planetary shielding would help balance the horrendous power gap between ships and ground combat vehicles. To me, this suggests that most ground versus air engagements may take place around established structures, defensive installations. Do you all foresee any value to GCVs in a verse ship context beyond assisting such structures?
GCVs?
GCVs.
Yeah, I don't know what GCV is. Actually, we stated there were two different ways it could go.
Vehicles, ground combat vehicles, yeah.
We actually stated there was two ways
ground combat
it could go.
vehicles is what it is. I actually see quite a bit of value, contrary to that, because I actually see atmosphere being a thing. Right now, atmosphere has really not been fully brought in. So I view once atmosphere comes in, a lot of the ships that are definitely not aerodynamic are going to be at a major disadvantage. And I also see there'll be probably artificial areas, it sounds like, of you can't fly there.
Well, they can make it like non-artificial by making sure they have a gigantic cruise missile which you can't shoot down, and it will get you. Then it's not artificial anymore.
I actually think the one saving grace, I think, is if the Cyclone AA is the missiles on it are all EMP missiles, because EMP will kill any vehicle that is flying in the air. Because if you get hit with that, you go down.
Didn't they state there was an EMP version of the Tumbril, or the AA has a EMP on it, or something like that?
Yep, not the missile, but it has its own EMP.
Yeah, in the back of it. Yeah. So that's another part of the defense of the AA. So as if you fly over it or directly try to go for it, you can just EMP straight out of the sky. That'd be hilarious.
Good luck timing that with the charge.
Snake, I enjoy seeing you in your Saber Raven anytime soon. Come at me, bro. Just it was really interesting actually. Snake was in the PTU, the 3.0 recently, and he was at real max distance, and he set off his Saber Raven's EMP at like, we set it to absolute max distance, and I was on the ground with my railgun, and my entire screen still went white, and he was at max view distance. So yeah, it was really cool. Like that like it just blinds everything in an area.
Did he crash though? Because the EMP vessel actually loses its power for a bit too. So I just see
apparently
it
it lost its power, but it didn't lose its engines. So yeah,
that seems like a bug, because it should knock everything out.
I guess they don't want it to be able to kill itself. Yeah.
Merlin asks, I don't know if you guys picked up this small info during the BMM news. It will be able to implement and utilize alien tech. So imagine floating tech from Xi'an. Well, they basically, like, the Defender was a good example where they showed that they had the Teveran shields, they had the Xeon engines, and they had multiple different techs from, you know, different sort of races. I think it's just that you'll see a lot of different tech from different races or even manufacturers. They probably steal some of the human stuff if they think that's a particular benefit. But it's more that it's a mix of many alien and some of the best.
Yeah, I think that's the other reason why it makes the Banu a bit hard to make now I think about it, is because they're going to have to actually design all the other alien races before they can make the Banu, because you're going to be able to want to walk into their ship and go, oh, okay, so there's some Xi'an, there's some human, oh, what's this one? Oh, that's Cathar, we've never seen that before. Oh, there's some Vandal, you know, so they're going to have to do all of them really before they can do the Banu Merchantman, which now kind of makes more sense now I think about it in that regard.
Gilded. I expect them to also have a lot of gilded, because when I was looking at the images where they had the Banu a while back, where you had all them decked out and everything, I was like, I expect you to see like the little styles, but I expect to see it in a very like lavish way, as lavish as you can get it. Like, I don't know how you can get lavish Vandal, but I expect them to do that.
Okay, we've got. No, I've sort of covered this question. Teko Mojo is asking, do you think cargo, more specifically food storage, will need to be frozen refrigerated to stay edible? They did talk about SCU cargo containers being able to have freezing or environmental depth or even pressurized to be able to keep the cargo that was appropriate. So it's not something you have to look after, but if you were to damage that, then maybe your stuff's going to spoil.
Yeah. It's the future. They can do that thing and get away with it. We're already seeing it though in the cargo we've got already in the persistent universe at the moment, because they have different wrappings and stuff. So you can get gas ones that I've seen seeds and food that are all wrapped in a certain way. I've seen, and like the metal ones that come in like actual metal crates and stuff. So they've already got that working, even on the very small scale, and that's only going to change when they start getting the bigger crates as well.
Now, Merlin's asking a lot of information about how the Banu measurement is going to work. I'm afraid we don't have the details. I mean, this episode they didn't provide us with anything.
That's about it.
Yeah, that was probably the biggest info, is that it's going to have the bazaar in it, and the fact that it's taking their time because the modularity of the art. They're the two things I took out of it today.
The only other thing I would take out about the Banu Merchantman, and this is two things. The previous concept, say Clipper ship, it does have a very good thrust ratio from the size of it, so it's definitely going to be one of your faster ships of that size. I'm really curious to see where it falls into that, as well as it is heavily armed. For any of the cargo ships is heavily armed, but all the weaponry, if you look at it, is going to be forward-facing, so it's the type of weaponry that you blast through a blockade.
Yeah,
to get
blockade runner. Yeah, it's gonna. I see it almost a little bit Herald-like in how it's gonna fly. It'll be really fast in a straight line.
I'm wondering how they're gonna do the turrets on it. I'm just happy that they are making a better turret ship now, and then hopefully the Banu turrets will be useful.
The first thing I thought of when I was watching it today was Hayes is really gonna like that when they mentioned that they're all remote turrets. I just went, oh, Hayes is gonna love that. Was I correct in that assumption?
Yes. They did say that. Yes. Look, it makes a lot of sense. I think it makes it an easier to run solo ship. Just like the 600 was touted as having completely automated turrets, and the 890 jump, having the Banu, it allows a one person to fly it fairly well. Unlike a Carrack, which literally, if you're flying that solo, you're really relying on those NPCs as opposed to a module.
Can we just go to the reclaimer just a bit and say those hamster wheels? Why can't we have those for turrets? Because remote turrets, putting someone at least somewhere there makes a lot more sense than shoving them in an actual turret.
Why can't they move the hamster balls outside to where the turret is?
I thought the hamster balls was specifically for the utilities of the turrets, like the claw and stuff like that. That was what I took from that yesterday.
Well, I'm just saying, if they want to have the experience while still remaining the functionality of a remote turret, that would actually be a really good way of doing it.
Okay, and the last question.
Pacific Rim style.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I get what you're saying. Oh, that'd be neat.
Yeah.
We've actually got to the last question now. JT Gamer, I'm having trouble deciding between the Defender, Saber, and Super Hornet. Which one do you guys recommend, and why?
Wait, all at the same time. 3, 2, 1. Defender.
Banner Defender.
Yeah, but look, we're biased, okay? But let's explain the reasoning. Dyson, explain why you think that.
First of all, it's a ship that has the ability for one person to fly, one person to shoot, or one person to do shields. The big thing about it is it has beds for logging out. It has range. It's actually what I wanted in the Vanguard. It is literally what we wanted in a Vanguard. It had range. It has maneuverability. It's a fighter, and it has everything.
Okay, I'll go next. All the weapons are the same size, like the Saber. It is supposed to be very fast, like the Saber. It has excellent cockpit visibility, hopefully, unlike the Saber. And it's got the same missiles, pretty much, as a Saber. It's like a Saber, but it has all those extra utility abilities. A second person to come along, a dedicated gunner versus an actual flight pilot. The beds, and it's sort of like... It's such a nice ship, and I'm sure the Saber must have some upside to it compared to a Defender. But for me, this ticked all the boxes. And to be honest, I'm more of a Hornet, a Super Hornet person than a Saber person. But the things that translated from the Super Hornet that I liked the most also translated into the Defender. And that's essentially the turret gunner can take control over all the weapons, and you can have dedicated gunner with a dedicated pilot. Which, if you notice in anyone who's flown in 3.0, that's now a thing. That's right, your Super Hornet turret gunner can control all the gimbaled weapons. And this works for the Cutlass, the Freelancer, the Starfarer, the Gladiator, all these sort of ships that have a second co-pilot seat or a turret gunner. Hell, it even works for the Caterpillar, amazingly. These weapons can now be remotely controlled by the second co-pilot person, and you can have a dedicated pilot, and this is so powerful. And this is where the Defender gets it right. It's like a combination of the Super Hornet and the Saber merged into one with all the good points. And then you add in some beds. And long range, which neither of these things are.
Yeah, I can't agree with you guys more. It's in short, it's like an upgraded version of the Saber. The only real kind of downside to it over the Saber is it's probably a slightly fatter, larger ship, but not by much.
It has less armor too. I think it's more focused on shields than armor.
Yep. So but it gets big advantages that the Saber doesn't get. Like the two-person thing is utterly huge. It has a small amount of cargo. Does it have a small amount of cargo?
Only very small. Cargo.
Unsecured cargo, which the Saber doesn't have. It's got a bed.
2 beds.
Weapon racks
beds.
too.
Weapon racks. It's it's kind of like you're going, you're taking it from being a Saber to a Saber that's also a small vehicle that can do more things. It's more versatile, and we keep saying that about other things. As soon as something becomes more versatile, it's just a better ship.
I would disagree with the more versatile. I would say the more versatile is better.
You don't think it's more versatile?
No, I'm saying more versatile is a better ship in some cases.
In some cases, but I'm specifically talking about this one, I guess. But yeah, in general,
this case, yes. Sorry, I just had to correct that because it's like I like the Eclipse because it's good at one thing and it's going to be very useful in a very in a overall org base. Your specialists are really good for that. But in Star Citizen, owning a more versatile ship, if you have one ship, this is the ship to go for a fighter.
Yep. Yeah, it really depends on, I guess, if I go back to what we're talking about, versatility. I really guess it depends on the situation and what other specialist ships are out there. But in this case, the versatility is a real winner because it's going to get more use. And the other thing I think you guys probably didn't touch on in regards to this ship is when you're going into a combat situation, not knowing what the combat's going to be, having the versatility actually makes it stronger. And having the two pilots, like I look at all the other combat ships and I'm trying to, other than the Super Hornet, there is no other that has that benefit. Am I Reliant Tanner maybe? Reliant Tanner, Vanguard. There's another one. Yeah. So yeah, they're all going to have advantages. Vanguard's probably even fatter again than this ship, so it's probably a cheaper, better version of the Vanguard's another way you could possibly look at it. It's got exactly the same hard points as a Sabre as well, which just is crazy. And then the ability to have those long-range, what were they called? Ion cannons? Is that what they were called?
Tachyon cannons.
Tachyon cannons, that's it, yeah.
And those are so amazing because I like the idea of this being kind of a sniper, because that just, if it has really long range and it has a dedicated gunner, which means you can actually focus on shooting, that is really going to make this different from everything else.
Yeah, I think they've actually thought about that in gameplay terms, because they've actually kind of gone, all right, so if it's a sniper ship and you're attacking my Banu Merchantman, they're going to go a little bit away and go, oh, all right, do I just sit here and try and kill the Banu Merchantman while this thing's picking me off? Or do they go after the defender? And I think they're making it so that whoever's attacking the Banu Merchantman has to really make a choice about whether they kill the defender off, but if they go to get to the defender, by then the Merchantman's going to have left. So that's their thinking in my book.
There were... JT asked did they ever say if the defender could fit in the BMM. They didn't reiterate that. This
hinted.
Today? They hinted it, did they?
Not today, but they've hinted it at the past.
Yeah, well, they went out and flat outright said it, that they were considering if they could fit the Banner Defender, but they weren't going to promise it. So it's one of those things. I was hoping to hear confirmation of that, or even if they showed us the white box. I thought I heard a
Twitter post.
I would have known instantly. Back. There it is. But yeah, we got nothing. It was a dead end.
Any more questions? I know Merlin's got one there that we've talked about already, but you can answer it quickly.
Hayes, did you like the BMM info today from the video? I felt like it was not enough. No, it was not enough. They were basically giving us information that said that they didn't really have anything to show us.
Yeah, regurgitated and Oh, sorry, we've been busy doing other things.
Jay Black has one, actually.
All right, read it then.
Given the unique characteristics of the Banu Merchantman, it seems that something like speculation bulk commodity hauling may not be the most optimal use of the ship. Can you broadly discuss the type of cargo best suited for the Banu Merchantman in relation to its design intent as a mobile vendor?
Mobile vendor is an interesting one, that you keep a large amount of wares, and then the main advantage behind having a mobile bazaar is that it won't be able to target NPC markets. That's not useful. Always getting the lowest and then selling at the highest and selling everything you have in the process is how an NPC economy is going to work. Where you can take advantage of a mobile bazaar is player characters. Players, real people, appreciate that particularly more expensive, hard to get items that would be dotted all around the different systems, in completely different star systems. It could be all locally found in one place. That saves them time and the effort, and so they can go straight to that store and they know you're going to have what they want. It's convenience. It's not having to make multiple trips or travel long distances in order to get it. The player market, the bazaar, is perfectly suited to service. So I can see that being an excellent place for a bazaar, a player more focused market, and that I can see where the bazaar is really going to be able to kick off. More unique items, more rare items, items that are from much further distances, and you have a large selection. People will go and look, oh damn, this is really interesting, and they'll go into your store and see several things they like, and most likely purchase a few.
I actually can see that some people are even going to get into the whole merchandising aspect. And I reckon that'll be interesting down the line. But that's way down the line, but I can see people getting into that.
I actually expect to use my merchantman for post-raid, you might say, selling off tech and stuff that you find.
Yeah, that's true.
I honestly can see people just parking their Banu and a landing site with many other people who also land, and it's just like a big flea market for players.
Remember what we were talking about with the Pioneer about we should build a giant landing strip in several areas and have like a caravan that comes out there once a month to sell the wares and stuff from raids and everything, the cool rare stuff you find,
like a harvest market or something, or like a you know, once a blue moon market or something like that, we could call it. Yeah.
Edison Trent asks, question, am I the only one how thinks it's strange that so many ships only have 2 large shields like the Polaris, Banu M, and those are both 150 meter plus ships, and Sut Day not have bigger or more shields as the drops off?
I can answer this really easily. If you actually look at the way they've kind of gone about their modules, is they've gone about it in the ratios of 3s, and this is a really common thing from game design perspective. So basically, without going too much into detail, 3 smalls is equal to 1 medium, so 3 mediums is equal to 1 large. So when you see 2 smalls, as an example, it is weaker than 1 medium. So if you apply that analogy across the board to what you just answered, you can kind of answer your question from that. When you're seeing one that's got 2 shields, you'll find that it's usually a size under the one that's got a singular large one. I hope that answers your question.
Well, the 2 large shields, I hate to say, is a really good idea for redundancy. I just like, I personally like the redundancy a little bit better than one really good one, because once that goes down, or if that gets EMP'd and knocked out by EMP, you can have, oh, I see warlocks, I'm gonna have 1 shield off, and then as soon as that goes on, you turn on your shield on, and you have your shields back up in an instant while the other one's recharging.
Ideally, though, if you could have 3, because of how they've designed it, that would be the best. So if for example, instead of 1 large, you could have 3 medium, and they would be equal, roughly equal.
That's actually one of my big gripes about the Hammerhead. I hate to bring that up, is I feel like it needs better shielding than your Polaris, because a gunship is going to take a lot more hits, especially with a role of more of a defense role than an offensive role, which you choose your engagement.
I think the kind of way they've pushed that ship, though, is it's not glass cannon per se, but it's more offensive than defensive. So it's coming at you so hard that you just want to get the shit out of there and not attack it. That's kind of where they're coming from. But I guess there will be people that will target it. We'll see. I guess we'll have to see. But,
well, that's with any of the ships. Like the Banu Merchantman, I would also think needs maybe a different shielding setup too, just because you're trying to get. Sorry,
I gotta ask. Are you scrolling through the chat, Hayes? It's going backwards.
I just figured out I could do that. Yeah. Well,
that's amazing.
I
was like, I'm seeing things.
Anyway, Gruko asks, do you think the 75 upgrade from the Taurus to the Andromeda is worth it? Thanks.
Say that again.
Gruka asks, do you think the 75 upgrade from the Taurus to the Andromeda is worth it? Thank you. From the Taurus to the Andromeda.
Yep, right. Andromeda. Well, that's a big change in role, man. You're going from cargo to versatility there. I think the Andromeda is my personally favorite Connie, but that's a personal choice, wouldn't you say, Hayes? Depending on what you want to do.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it if you wanted to run cargo, but if you wanted more of a exploration focus and versatility focus.
Yeah, versatility focus, because it is kind of in a weird way, it's kind of halfway between the Taurus and the Aquila, wouldn't you say?
That's kind of what you can fully upgrade Andromeda to a Aquila if you just have to add in all those extras like the turret and the rover.
That's correct.
And
but you can't kind of go back to the Taurus, and you kind of won't get the only thing you don't get from the Aquila is obviously that curved front, which I think why they put that in, to be quite honest. They was like, oh well, what the hell is the point of even having this upgrade if it doesn't look different?
I fully expect the Taurus to be able to do exploration though. Like, if you want to put your own rover in, or upgrade the sensors, or get the one turret you have with the sensor turret, I expect them to let people do that.
That's what I'm doing with my Cyclone. My Cyclone is for my Andromeda, and obviously I'll just be able to buy that science turret and chuck it on the top, and then I've got my Aquila. Boom, done.
I suppose what we should do is compare it to other ships in that price range. Is there another ship that's even close to the Andromeda at 225? I don't think there is.
You probably have a
Hoplite.
Caterpillar, yeah. That'd be the only other one, and that's
$295.
probably.
That's another big jump.
But it's in the ballpark. But what I'm saying is, when you go between, you'd almost have to ask: is the price difference between the Taurus to the Caterpillar worth it? And we don't know about the modularity of the Caterpillar yet, so we can't really answer that question definitively. And then also, what's the cargo amount difference between, say, a Taurus and a Caterpillar? So
if you want to focus on cargo, stick with the Taurus. If you want a bit more versatility, the Andromeda is not a bad choice. But if you're willing to go up to the Aquila, I'm starting to think that perhaps it would be better to pick another ship.
yeah,
The Aquila's in a bad spot.
I agree. Aquila's when you look at the Aquila next to the Carrack, you're like, oh, just take the Carrack, 100%. Especially now with what we know about the size of yesterday. Yeah.
Well, the only thing I will say about the Aquila is it is in a more reasonable price range for people that do not have the huge amount to drop. Because I hate to say, sometimes you don't have that extra little bit, even though it is a reasonable amount for what you're getting. It's just not going to be in someone's budget. But I can totally get an Aquila because that allows me to do what I want to do.
I think what Hayes is trying to say, and I agree with, and it's actually what I've done, is get the Andromeda and just modify it into an Aquila. It's a silly upgrade, to be honest. It's an extra. I say 50.
The Taurus is what you should stick with.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that if you were going to go for the Aquila, don't get an Aquila, get an Andromeda, because it does 2 rolls instead of 1. And it's a much better spot. And I actually am willing to suspect there are people that have an Aquila that will reverse upgrade as well. But from a dollar perspective, there's a $50 difference between an Andromeda and Aquila. You know what I mean? So, why wouldn't you go, in game, just kind of upgrade it to an Aquila?
Yeah,
why spend $50 now?
I mean,
the only thing I would say is, my personal opinion is, you should just get the Taurus and upgrade it, because the Taurus gets a larger cargo bay, which you can't get on the others, and you can upgrade the sensor dish and everything else.
That's what we kind of said from the outset, man. We kind of need to know what he wants to do with it before we can give him a tailored response. So who asked the question?
It was Gruka, Gruka.
So Gruka, put up a secondary question, dude, and actually tell us what do you want to do in the universe, man? Because we can't answer that for you until you give us what you got to tailor ship to what you want to use it for. Anyway. Someone also asked us what org we're in. We're in an org called SCA, which is Southern Cross Alliance.
Yes. If you join our Discord, I guess I'll get the link.
We hang out here before episodes. We hang out here some other times during the day. So, and we read questions and everything. We actually have on our particular Discord, we have things for episode suggestions. If you have episode suggestions, questions, CCU questions for Hayes or anyone in there.
Gruka's replied real quick. I actually think he wants it to be able to do different roles. Yeah, they're 100% the Andromeda. That's the most versatile of all 3 options you've got there. Yeah, all right, sorry, Dyson, keep going.
So I was just saying, and the Discord, we do not have an org per se for the Inforunners, but we do have an awesome Discord where you can hang out with us. And
we're all in the same org though, but it's not an Inforunners org. Put it that way.
Yeah. We essentially do this Inforunners show under its own steam. We don't associate it with an org, but we are part of an org. If you are interested, feel free to ask. In fact, we might get the link. Anyway, I'll let you answer the next question. Merlin asks, if you had to buy one BMM or a Carrack while having an Endeavour in your fleet, which would it be?
Oh, man. It's personal preference, really, but still, Banner Merchantman's still the best value deal you're ever going to get at the moment. Carrack would be second, and then Endeavour third. I'd have to go in the order he asked the question, yeah? Dyson?
Banner Merchantman is still the best.
Yeah.
Personally, I would argue
it's
that
cheaper, and you get everything.
Yep, I agree with that. But think about it. The Carrack is an exploration-science ship, whilst the Endeavour is sort of crossing roles here. You already have a really good exploration-science ship. Why are you getting the Carrack as well? Why don't you breach out into trade and get the Banner as the chip that you know have with the Endeavor.
If you were going to get two of them, it would be the Banner and the Endeavor. The Endeavor, without a shadow of a doubt, is probably going to be one of the most versatile ships in the entire game when all's said and done. You can see the modules it's got now, combining that with the other modules that are probably to come. This man here, Hayes, sold me on that ship. I was not sold on it, but the more thought and time and speculation I put into that ship, it's probably going to be one of the best ships in the entire game from a versatility standpoint. But the three ships that you've mentioned, the Banu, the Carrack, and the Endeavour, I can tell you right now, Hayes and myself own all of them.
Yeah, they are the three most popular ships, and I'm sure Dyson owns all of them as well, don't you?
Well, I don't have an Endeavor, but my Carrack is turning into a Hammerhead, so I'll have a Banu Merchantman.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a military focus guy, Polaris.
Yeah, he's a bit weird. It's fine.
One of his best friends has an Endeavor though, so he's not gonna miss out.
Yeah, we've both got him. He can use ours. Yeah. Actually, are you kind of leaving your Endeavor open, Hayes, with what you're going to do with that? You haven't.
The reason why I'm invested in the Endeavor is one, overclocking of components. I really want to have access to that, and perhaps others to have access to that. So I definitely have the particle accelerator. The other thing that's really interests me is I consider it a quasi-trade vehicle, or perhaps a light support platform. With the hangar, you can fit cargo. It can fit 4,500 SCU and just using half that hangar. So it is sort of possibly usable as a trade ship, because if you put a hangar and you put some fuel modules on there, you can carry liquids or fuels. You can carry cargo, and you perhaps serve as fighters with refueling, rearming, and light repairs. So you can bring escorts with you. Like the Starfarer, it can keep refueled its own defense escorts. And so this is they're both very versatile ships for prospective traders because of that flexibility. The Starfarer and the Endeavor are incredible jack-of-all-trades ships that are incredibly flexible compared to other ships.
I do have to say, with the Endeavor, the med bay is probably the biggest thing. The med bay and hangar, if you're allowed to spawn into that med bay, just hypothetically speaking, if you can spawn people into that med bay, in theory, you could actually have a closed spawn site on a popular area and charge people a fee to go in there.
Well, Hayes and I have actually speculated this in the past, but we actually kind of expect the Endeavour will have like these mini floating cities, and what we mean by that is a bunch of Endeavours with all the different modules being able to do all the different things, and people come in and land in the cargo bays and transport stuff between different Endeavours and stuff like that, and I fully see that is going to be a realistic thing, and you could almost hire an entire little mini city of Endeavours, like in a nebula or something like that, and have this whole player-owned little mini city. And I actually think that is highly what will happen. And now with a Hammerhead, I can see that sitting in there as well and defending them like a little weapons platform. I think that's why I'm interested in possibly getting a Hammerhead, purely just for defense purposes of my Endeavour. But, again, wait and see.
Yep.
Next question, maybe?
Do you think they will sell the 890 jump in limited numbers tomorrow? Possible?
Possibly.
Not guaranteed.
The amount of lies we've received today.
Yeah.
So far.
I'm not sure.
Military ships.
I think they think they've gated it because they raised the price. So I think the possibility is there that they may try to sell it because they've opened that door. The cat's out of the bag.
Yeah. I also think if we see the Polaris, I'm just speaking on increased prices. I think it'll be an increased price as well. When they sell that on RSI Day.
Wooly asks, do you think the Endeavour will be too much to handle for two friends and an
drop
AI?
something off at work?
No, I don't.
You got to head off, do you, Dyson?
That was what that cell phone was about. I've been sending you PMs and you haven't been noticing. I have to drop something off at work.
All right.
Okay. So, we can switch over to two people. That's fine. All right.
Just
Sorry,
make sure you're
guys.
That's fine. We've never done this mid-stream, but let's see if it works.
up. Yeah. See you, Dyson.
See ya. Intermission. Dun, 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 dun. Intermission.
Okay, I'll just have to read back because you can't see these things.
No, it's fine. It'll come up in a minute, won't it? Oh, that's fine.
Wooly
all good.
asks, do you think the Endeavour will be too much to handle for two friends in an AI?
Will the what ship? Sorry, I missed the
Endeavour.
ship. Endeavour? Yeah, I think it'll be probably too much for two people. Mini floating city.
I think,
So-
like, if you... It's one of those ships you don't have to keep flying all the time. Like, when you stop at a location, you do your science, your research, you run the labs. I think it's... If you're doing a spontaneous... I'm moving around all the time and I'm trying to do something at the same time, that might be too much for two people. But if you were to park outside a planet or a sun and do research, or in safer zones and, like, grow drugs and then, you know, manufacture and resource that...
If you're doing something safe in safe space, yes, but if you're growing drugs, no.
Well, it's only safe until
There's
you
no
get caught.
safe place to grow drugs. Let's just put it that way.
You know, it's one of those things. I think it's depending what you're expecting to get done. Because, you know, you can use an Endeavour in a situation where 8 real players might be a necessity. You know, like, more dangerous space, or you're doing multiple things at once, or you've got other ships escorting with you and moving around and doing science at the same time while going through an actual, you know, planned route. You know, it depends how complicated you want to make things. You gonna say something?
I was gonna say your curtain is showing.
Yeah.
Since you've changed the camera. Anyway, doesn't matter.
That's alright. We can continue.
Question there from... Oh no, you read the next one because you're up at a different place where I am. There's one there by Can't Shoot Me that says, do all purchases over $1,000 still come with LTI? Yes.
Yes. That was a mistake yesterday. They should have already fixed that. Edistrand7112 asks, question, what do you think of the new size system of components? Personally, I dislike it. I think Descartes do it better currently is small, medium, large capital. I think it was something they needed to get sorted because all the old ship stats were just a complete higgledy-piggledy mess. It was just a matter of time until they properly set out the proper sizes.
No, I agree. I think they're starting to nail down, and it also shows their development cycle. They're actually starting to get into actually designing stuff now. This kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier about, you know, the first couple of years we're just getting shit into place. Now they're actually doing work. So a lot of it was speculation before. Now it's actually getting it nailed down. Next question.
Next question is Kumuk Tudor. I didn't choose the Endeavour, I just got a Hull E. And personally, Hull E was sold as an incredibly most modular and reconfigurable ship of them all.
Hull E, really?
Yes, when it was sold. They had 3 Q&As for that one. They gave lots of detailed information, and even so far as being able to use it as a refueler on the Hull D and E. So, you know, I personally...
Is that by taking special cargo containers that it can hold?
Well, it's sort of like it can hold the fuel containers, but actually having proper refueling equipment on the back end of the hulls so that they can refuel large ships. Or even like
so you would just have fuel as a storage, and it'll be able to take it to the pipes and feed. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. I didn't read that. Oh, that's really interesting to know. That actually puts the whole series in a different light for me. Actually, I didn't know that.
Yeah, well,
I had no to little interest in them. I just went, oh, they're cargo. Meh.
Well, now they're supporting logistics and refueling. That's huge, right?
That means they'll work really well hand in hand with the Starfarer too. The Starfarer will be able to fly up and dump its load and
then come back. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Just like you would with mining, though. So you know, it's not a big stretch.
That'll be really cool, actually, if you can automatically transfer from Orion and stuff. Yeah, that makes sense. Actually, they need to be able to do that. I don't know why I didn't think of that. Yeah, that makes logically that makes a lot of sense.
Question from Theo. Utility mounts and weapon mounts can't be swapped, so you can swap sensitive turret with the regulatory torrent. Wow, Google. I'm not sure what to make of that, but utility mounts and weapon mounts, no, you can't swap them. If it's a weapon mount, it's a weapon mount. If it's a utility mount, It's a utility mount. And even turrets are not going to be swappable between different ships. They've said.
And I was just going to say some utility mounts too are actually specific to a specific device, like we found out about the Terrapin.
Yeah.
It doesn't like it's going to be
I
able
was
to...
disappointed with that, but not terribly disappointed.
It's a gameplay thing. I think they just need this whole quality. They have to have how would I word it? Different types of utility mounts within that. So it's a scanning utility mount and then a mining utility mount or whatever. I think that's how they're going to probably end up doing it. Any more questions?
Wooly says they said you can use the Endeavor as a spawn point. Players will see it in how much you price the spawn at.
Okay.
Well, yeah, they said that people could spawn in hospital, but I think that's more that they've recovered your body and you now wake up in the hospital.
I wonder if that's a valid tactic to like go park your Endeavor at a battle where your augur's like taking them out, let them spawn for cheap on your ship, and then just shoot them instantly.
I don't think you're going to get very good repeat business.
No, but it'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then revive them again and repeat the procedure. Yeah, I don't think they're going to keep paying the bills.
Mm.
But then again, I can totally see you collecting bodies out of space and reviving them and then using them as test subjects and prisoners. They've talked about illegal
in the drug lab,
just in the hospital.
Make them addicted to your drugs and then let them go free.
Yeah, I think something twisted and crooked like that will definitely be an option somehow.
Yeah, that'd be hilarious. You are now addicted to whatever drug, and
Slam.
They're the only ones that sell it. Yeah, yes. You're addicted to Slam.
Edos Trent 7112 asks, question, what do you think of the new size system? I think we just answered that question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think balancing is not here yet. Like weapon sizes and systems, in the capital to large, they will get around to balancing this. I mean, if they feel a particular ship needs a bigger component, they will just change it.
Is that Snake trying to join the chat?
No, it's not on my end.
Oh wait,
it's you.
Oh, it is. Oh, it's my actual phone. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Question: is 60-month insurance as good as LTI, or would you use an LTI token during the anniversary sale?
Hang on, I'm gonna have to reply to this person real quick. You answer the question.
Why not use an LTI token? If you buy a War Bond Hawk and you save $10, and then you CCU up, let's say to a Carrack, it is now a $390 Carrack instead of buying the Carrack outright, which is $400, and you have LTI instead of 5 years insurance. Why wouldn't you save $10? Think about that for a moment. But I know people say, oh, 5-year insurance is just as good as LTI. But if the LTI doesn't cost you anything, and you bought a credit version of a Hawk for a token, why wouldn't you? It's like, if it doesn't cost you anything, and you can get something which is even just a tiny bit better, why don't you put in the effort and do that?
Mm.
You know, it's a...
LTI comes down to one thing on how they're going to implement it at the end of the game, and I think they've kind of not fully shown their hand, but there's only two ways it can go. LTI will work one of two ways. The stock ship, and only the stock ship, and as soon as you change one little thing on it, you have to buy you have to insure the entirety again. If it's like that, then it's not so great. But if it's like it's LTI on everything you have, and you only pay for the new components, then it's actually more valuable than we thought it was going to be. And they're the only two ways I'm going to go with it. So depending on which way it goes, depends on how valuable it's going to be.
The thing is, LTI was said to be the least expensive of all ongoing costs. Less expensive than fuel, less expensive than ammunition, less expensive than repairs. At the end of the day, we're trying to debate how much LTI is worth compared to... We're trying to find out the value of the least valuable of all things you could get a benefit from. It's not... shouldn't really be a big deal. I think people blow up more than it needs to be, but the real argument is not how valuable LTI is. The real argument is If you can get it for nothing more than effort and not pay anything for it, why wouldn't you? Why not put that extra effort in and actually use an LTI token during the sale and just do it anyway?
If you can get it, do it, use it.
Yeah,
it's an added benefit. That's a no-brainer. All right, next question.
Okay, do you think the Hull E will do similar things as the Endeavour? Maybe even be a good addition to Endeavour City?
This person still keeps calling me.
That's all right. I'll do this one.
It was the Endeavour and the Hull E, yeah? Is that what he said?
The Hull E is a very different ship for the Endeavour. The Endeavour is like a master of many different sort of things. A lot of those things the Endeavour will never do. But then again, I think the Hull E and an Endeavour could complement themselves as a part of a city, whether that might be keeping refueling or moving stock. Maybe you've got a huge farm going and you're loading all of that produce into the Hull E to then go off to market. They're two ships that are designed to work together. I can see them complementing each other, depending on what you're deciding to do.
Yeah, I think the Hull is very cargo focused, where, as you said, the Endeavour is master of many, and they both have merit.
Well, you could say the Endeavour.
It's so hard to answer because
the Endeavour moves things. It's like,
yeah. And then the only question I would ask is, what's better, the Banu or a Hull series ship?
I think it comes up to a matter of scale.
Yeah,
how many
and like how much cargo do you want to move? How safely do you want to move it? Where are you moving it? All that type of thing. Yeah. You just got to ask yourself these questions, and you can almost nail down what ships you want for yourself.
Merlin asks, do you think the Endeavour Master Set will go up in price? I'm thinking of getting that this time around, or maybe just a base, get modules in the game. What do you think?
I think you're better just to get one for what you want to do, and then buy the others in game. So the base and one set of what you want to do, or one base ship. And what I mean by that is they have things like the Endeavour Hope class, which is the hospital ship, and I think there's two other variants that I can't remember the names off the top of my head. But just buy one that you want, and then you can get so it's useful, because a base on its own is kind of not useful.
Yeah, if you buy an Endeavour and you have no modules, what you can do with it is greatly limited. But if you were to buy a science and a research module just by itself, suddenly it becomes an excellent exploration and science and research ship. If you even just get one hangar, you've just made it into a cargo ship. Or whatever ship you land in the bay with it extends out to that functionality as well. As long as you have something it can do, so that you can then generate some revenue stream, as opposed to having no modules and wondering, how the hell am I going to buy these other modules? You need at least one module that you can put to use to get you started to getting on the other modules you might have an interest in, if that makes sense. The Master Set it's an interesting package. I think it's a matter of romance. I think it's a matter of, if that's for you, you will just buy it. But do I think it's the best deal in the world? Maybe not.
I think, quite honestly, when you look at it, you're probably going to find one or two sets of things you want to use your Endeavour for, but not all of them.
Yep.
And even then, you're going to have it's almost like you'd be almost better to buy, if you wanted to buy the Master Set, that is, you'd almost be better to buy probably 2 additional base Endeavours just so you can use all the modules. That would be how I would do it if you're going to go Master Set. Does that make more sense to you guys?
Yeah.
If you were going to go that way.
And do I think the Endeavour Master Set will go up in price? I don't. This ship is not going to go into production for another, 2 years maybe? This is one of the last ships.
Yeah. Because it's a big... We talked about this yesterday. Like, it's really... every time they add a couple of modules, it doubles the size of the ship, because it's really 5 or 6 ships in one.
When they sell this again at next year's Anniversary Sale, I don't think the price will go up then either. I think it will be for sale for the same price, because they won't even have started it. Yeah, that's the sort of situation this is in.
Yeah, it'll probably be the last missed ship that they make, to be honest. I think they'll get the whole series all worked out and then start on this one. And they've done the whole series pretty much whole C pretty much all this year, You know, when you move on to like the A and the B, they might get that knocked out next year, but the D and the E, they'll probably almost take another year on their own.
Edison Trent asked the question, what is your guys' perfect ship if you were able to design one for Star Citizen?
Ooh. Personal taste, it'll come down to what you want to do in the universe.
Well, execute. He's asking us. So what's your
I got no idea. That's such a tough question, man. Because we haven't seen gameplay yet. We haven't seen what we're going to be able to do. I guess it really comes down to what you want to do in the universe, and I want to do a great number of different things.
I want to see a ship that's fairly modular, about the 100-meter range. It's like a beefed-up Connie, but it's not too big. You know, it has the cargo, has the ground vehicle, has the modularity. We don't have 100-meter Connies, and the 600i was a disappointment, sort of.
I hear that a lot, actually, that kind of response. That everyone wants this perfect modular ship that they can make it be everything they want it to be. But from a game design perspective, you can't have that. Because it means that'll be the only ship anyone ever uses.
Well, it was almost a 600i, but then they gimped it on the cargo. Yeah. You know? And it's like they just lost so much possibility. I
did keep saying this in our discussions. If it's really strong in one area, it's got to have a weakness in another. So, typical example that you're seeing game design is a glass cannon. So, if it's really strong in offense, then it's got to be super weak in defense. You know, you've got to. You ever see those guides with the triangle, and if they pull one area, then it gets thinner in another, and then if they pull this, it's literally exactly the same as that. You've got your little triangle, and you can pull 1 point, but as soon as you 1 point, it pulls the other 2 points. It's exactly the same thing. It has to be balanced, and if you don't balance it, they just take over. And ironically, even the really large ships in this game are self-balancing because it requires more people. And that's one of the questions like I was asking yesterday, like between the Redeemer and the Hammerhead. Yeah, but you got the people. There's so many more people you need on the bloody thing.
They needed a ship 100 meters of military, and like
this
is my other answer.
Definitely a need for it.
Would be something like the Hammerhead.
Yeah,
because
I
it's the right
100%
size.
agree with you, but like, how do we run? Like just look at our org as an example. How do we have that running with that, and then a miner and a player? It's like we're going to need 30 people minimum every time we go to mine. It's crazy. Or we could just take, a Redeemer.
I'm not.
Because the Polaris can be overkill, So we're going to.
Just not a Redeemer fan.
Yeah, I know you're not, but let's just call it something else then. But you know what I mean. I think when they redesign the Redeemer, you'll be happy, put it that way.
But it won't be anything close to what it is now, so I'm sure.
I think you could almost take the body and just take off the engines and put different engines on it, and it does need a restructuring inside. But fundamentally, if you just look at it from the stats, I think with the stats you'll be happy.
Jeff Tuffer asked, do you think the Polaris will be up for sale again? Yes. If so, do you think they will jump in price? No. You think?
I think it might jump in price, just because of where the Hammerhead sits. I think it's kind of a small nod, but I could be wrong.
It's just so far away from production.
I hope I'm wrong.
And it's only been since last summer.
Yeah, I hope I'm wrong.
All right. Will there be a small, medium ship like the Starfarer that will collect fuel in space? Well, the Starfarer was the small ship.
They collect fuel in.
That's right, and then it became the large ship. I don't think they're going to bring any more refuelers. I think it's like... Yeah, I think where it is for now, we're not going to see any more collectors of fuel other than the Starfarer. It's in a good place, and it's about the right size.
I think if you had another ship, it would actually kind of take away from the ability of the Starfarer, to be honest. I think it's a very niche ship. If anything, I would have taken cargo away from the Starfarer, but that's just a personal thing. I think that's the one thing that the Starfarer didn't need was a cargo bay.
Earth Daddy Jones asks, I got the distinct impression that the medical bay on the Carrack is part of the core ship, not a module. What do you guys think? They seem to say that almost outright in the ATV. That was always my impression.
Mm.
You know, so. Question: Consolidated Outland new concept. What do you guys think? Or hope it will be?
Sorry, I got really confused by the Discord noise that went off. Sorry, say again.
Consolidate Outland, the new concept. What do you guys think it will? Hope it will be?
There isn't going to be a consolidated Outland one. If you actually look at the logo, I stated this yesterday. It's UEE logo. It's not an consolidated Outland logo, and you can tell this by going looking at the Aegis one that came out yesterday. There's the Aegis ship, and there's an Aegis distorted logo below it. So I don't think it will be a consolidated Outland one at all. That's my 2 cents.
I have no idea what this is going to be. Unlike all the previous ones, they give us hints. They give us some ideas. Unsure what this is going to be. So it's up in the air for me. I'd like to make a prediction, but...
Oh! There was a rumor, actually I did hear a rumor, that they're selling land.
That's a horrible idea.
So you can buy land claims.
That's as bad as selling hangers, okay?
Yep.
That's just like, no.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's the rumor I heard. UEE land claims. That's the concept sale. Buy your land now. Real estate. Yay.
Grave Peril asks, is there any love for the Genesis Starliner? Woohoo! I love... Look, it's one of those ships that they forgot in a shoebox in a dusty corner. And, like, we have never heard of it since the concept, when it was so hyped and there's so much fanfare for it. I think someone said before, there's if you went up to Chris Roberts and said, do you remember the Genesis Starliner? He's like, is that a ship we made?
Yeah.
It's sort of like probably forgotten all about the poor thing. But the thing is, I think it's one of those ships due to the metrics and being able to fit people as passengers and have stewardess interact with them. The metrics is going to make this ship explode. This is going to go from an 80-meter ship to 100 plus easily. So I think it's one of the ships to look out for. I think it's one of the ships that has a lot of potential coming into the future when they start looking at it.
I definitely think it's going to grow, like you said. I saw a thing on, would have been 3 or 4 months ago now, someone did something on the subreddit, and they had these images of the ship, and just to fit the stuff inside it didn't fit. They're going to have to make it larger, purely and simply.
It'll be a really nice ship when they do, though. I look forward to it.
Agree.
I think it's unfortunate there are some ships that are just forgotten by the sidelines, and CIG doesn't even talk about it for years and years on end after the concept. It's really disheartening. And while, of course, things like the Banner Merchant and the Carrack and literally every other ship I can think of get mentioned regular basis. It's unfortunate.
All right, next question. Are we almost done? I don't think we've got many left, do we?
Question. On your episode, sell your fighters to invest in the most expensive ship you can. Do you still recommend that?
Yep.
I do that. I do recommend that. That's actually what I do in practice. Like, if you have 5 fighters and no capitals, you've obviously got a misbalance. Personally, I'd like 1 or 2 small ships if you are spending that much, or even 1 small ship, and then I would get multiple capitals after that if you were already spending that high.
Yeah, I've only got 1 combat ship at the moment, and that's the Warden, because of the old BUK system. I've got 3 ships in 1. That's it. That's my only kind of fightery, combat-y ship in that area.
I have a Defender, and that's going to be...
I'm probably going to get a Defender as well because of my banner, but that'd be about it.
And a Terrapin, but I'm not really pushing the small ships.
Again, you and I have said this a couple of times. I don't know if we've said it on the show, but anything under $150 is a little bit redundant, with the exception of something like the Sen that is a tailored specific role ship, and the cheapest ship that's kind of at that price point's the Prospector. Anything under that, it can kind of become redundant.
And Dasein asks, when do you think we'll get an entry-level transport ship?
Maybe tomorrow if it's an alien ship, but they did alien ships today, so I don't reckon that UEE sale's going to be an alien ship. I think it's... The only other time we've seen that UEE logo was when they unveiled the Eclipse. So the fact that it's a UNE logo makes me think that the land claim thing could be true, and I bloody hope it's not, but...
I think the closest you're going to get to entry-level transport ship might be the Cutlass with the seats in the back. They don't seem interested in passenger transport.
The advanced starter of the Alliant is a cargo variant. That's the closest you're going to get to an entry level.
I mean, for like actual people transport.
Oh, is that what he means? Okay, click. Right, now I'm on the same page. He didn't say people transport, so I've just gone straight to cargo. My bad.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's hard to find ships with lots of seats, you know? It's not many
Yeah.
of them.
I guess you got the Hoplite if you wanted to do it that way.
Oh, God, that's horrible.
But at that price point, again, the Genesis Starline is not
That's no entry level ship.
Yeah.
I think we've come to the end of our questions. We'll ask one more question for no, that's a horrible question.
Just want to clarify what Edison said there. He said, question, tomorrow we get Origin ships. There's no UE logo, or did I miss something? So on Tuesday, man, we're talking about Tuesday. If you look at they had two things that were classified on the ship sale page type of thing. And one of them was the Aegis one yesterday, and it had an Aegis logo that was distorted, and it said classified, and then we got the Aegis Hammerhead. And then so people are thinking that there's a consolidated Outland one above it, but then when you actually look at the one that's distorted, it's not a consolidated Outland logo that's distorted, it's a UEE logo that's distorted. And that's what we were talking about, not the Origin tomorrow.
You know, it could be consolidated Outland in combination with another manufacturer, like many other have collaborated to make a ship, so you know.
You and I did speculate if there was another consolidated Outland ship to kind of answer his question. If it was a consolidated Outland, we kind of talked about a mining ship, didn't we? A medium mining ship, or perhaps a small mining ship.
Industry that ship, and a ship that no one else has really got a foothold in the market for. So
yeah,
and in some way.
Being that manufacturer, they're kind of that out there. What do you call it? Outer. If it was Star Wars, it'd be the Outer Rim. That's kind of where the consolidated Outland operates, and I could see that a small mining ship would be that Outer Rim type style.
Yeah, like a proper professional type of a thing that's, you know, fully focused towards that sort of role.
Yep.
We'll see what happens. I as I said, I'm not really sure what's going to be on tomorrow, what they're selling. It's going to be a big surprise for me, I think.
All right then. Is that everything? I think
that's it. I think we'll wrap it up for today. If you didn't already hear, we started our own Discord in order to take questions and suggestions for future shows. We're also giving one-on-one advice for CCUs and Anniversary Sale. If you have any particular personal questions you want to ask regarding how you want to buy or invest, we are currently answering all those questions regarding that. We've got a separate channel for it. As always, if you're on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, catch you around.
See you next time. We'll be in Discord after the show, by the way, for a little bit. So hope to see you there. All right, bye.
See ya.
I had to do that. I knew you did what
I know, you couldn't help yourself.
I know. I could see Dyson there going, do it, do it.